Good evening and welcome back to another edition of the Watchpoint Post-Show live from the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles. As per usual, I'm your host, Malik Forte, joined as always by Zoe, Bryn, and Josh. Guys, coming into today, if anybody would have told me that all the games would be 4-0 and none of those games would be Vancouver 4-0ing people, I would have been like, you're kidding me, man. It was a lot of 4 Overwatch, but it wasn't Vancouver, which is wild to me.
And honestly, even some of the 4-0s, they still felt very close. Like, I do think that a lot of those maps could have gone either way. So overall, we did see some pretty darn good Overwatch out there, say.
And a couple of teams kind of flopping as well, where we thought we might have bigger performances, particularly Fusion and Chengdu. I think I was hoping for a little bit more from. I wanted those games to be a little closer. Both of those teams have got to go back to the drawing table and really look at what they were bringing today.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into today because there was a lot. The last matchup you guys just saw was between the LA Valiant and the Chengdu Hunters, two teams looking for their first win of the stage. Now, the Valiant were up 2-0 at the half, and to complete this win, they would have a tall mountain to climb, especially to get back into playoff contention. So let's go ahead and look at Nubani. Guys, more domination from
you see, the thing is, just Valiant did so very well at putting on pressure onto the front line of the Chengdu Hunters, who were always on the back foot. They always had to retreat. Valiant really positioned themselves well, and KSF, well, he really popped this game. He had an absolute field trip. In fact, Fiction managed to create a lot of space for his team, and overall, it was just very well played from the Valiant. I didn't expect it to be that one-sided.
Yeah, I love little plays like this because you just, as you're getting hacked and you're falling through the air, your life flashes before your eyes. Every mistake you've made up to that moment, and suddenly you're in the drink and you're back in the respawn queue.
Thought process here. Final map. They bring in Jichirin and Gary again. Is that because the series is over, or is that because they have? Or are they trying something where they have two set lineups for different maps where they want to run specific stuff?
I think they're trying to give Jichirin some stage time, some practice on the main stage. The guy, I mean, again, he was supposed to be their main tank coming into this. I think they're trying to catch him up to speed, I guess, with the atmosphere that he's going to be expecting on that. But I agree with your previous point, Zoe, about KSF. I feel like he really shined as well. I'm finally starting to see what Valiant were talking about this entire time. They've been picking up KSF, right, as his monster in scrims, and he never really performed up to the level that they said he could. We're starting to see it now. He's absolutely destroying on Zarya, at least in this match here. Again, easy opponent, so it's easy to perform well. But still, I think we're seeing something good there.
Why do you think that is? You think it's maybe better communication with Fact Fiction? Well, why is it that KSF now is just all of a sudden popping off super hardcore?
I think playtime on the main stage is the biggest thing. Like, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's nerve-wracking up there. My first time on that big stage, I almost wet myself out of anticipation. It was very scary. We lost the first talent takedown.
We don't talk about that time.
Joking aside, it's nerve-wracking. You're playing in front of so many people, many more online as well. You've got so many eyes, so much criticism on you. Nerves do play a big part of this, and just the only thing that's going to get you through it is reps and repetitions, and that's what KSF has from then to now.
Got to fight through the mental strangleholds of being on stage. Indeed. All right, well, let's move on to, I guess, what you could call our marquee matchup of the day. The Titans and the Atlanta Reign. Now, the Reign, they beat the NYXL twice, and they almost beat San Francisco. So coming into today's match, a lot of people were going, man, they possibly could compete with Vancouver. And you know what? I think they actually did. They competed pretty well.
Yeah, out of all the three matches we said today on the pre-show of which one do you think would be more likely to be an upset, I said this match, and you all laughed at me.
Yeah, well, we were good to laugh at you because it didn't happen. Actually, the one that upset was the Valiant.
Out of the ones we picked, though, this was the one that was most likely to be an upset. I mean, it was the closest series we saw between the teams. So I don't take that, Josh, to be honest.
I mean, but no, to be fair, though, on map number 1, I didn't really feel like it was close. Even though Atlanta did bring it back once in a while and won some team fights, overall, it was still a very dominant showing from the Vancouver Titans. And then on Paris, honestly, this looked more like a throw from the Titans than anything else. It was a very interesting kind of team composition they were running on it. I do agree, though, that the other 2 maps, that was on the closer side.
I mean, I wouldn't even go so far as that. I'm not even going to give them that, Zoe. I agree with you so much that I'm going to say as well that I didn't think Hollywood was.
Oh no, wait, actually, yeah, I forgot about the full hold.
Yeah,
Never mind about that.
By definition, this was not a close match.
That's not close.
Yeah,
that is not.
Atlanta struggled a little bit here, but I don't think this was particularly Atlanta playing poorly, and more to do with Vancouver Titans really playing well. There was some clutch boops. They were forcing abilities out of people, really working well with the ultimates, putting a lot of pressure onto Atlanta. This is Vancouver Titans coming out of the gate, proving that they are at a higher form, at least, than the other 3 at the moment, the other top 3. So compared to the Shock and NYXL, they've come out of the gates a lot faster. Now, whether that'll make any difference when we get towards the stage playoffs, who knows? Probably not. But at least at the moment, the Vancouver Titans look like the best.
Gibraltar, I thought for a second that Atlanta Reign were going to be able to tie this one up. It was very close towards the end of this series. I believe it went into the double overtime, and again, we saw Atlanta Reign pulling off some good maneuvers. One thing that I did see as well is that Baby Bay has been steadily improving on the Zarya himself, stepping it up, but wasn't enough to bring out the win in the end. Vancouver Titans, clearly Harsha Pandy's words of encouragement at the halftime, helping them out tremendously, really.
He's an incredible human being.
He really is, yeah. Phenomenal facial hair as well.
Yeah, part-time coach for the Houston Outlaws.
Houston Outlaws.
As we discovered yesterday. He came up with what was his amazing one-word motivation that he had for Houston yesterday?
Win.
Ah, that was it.
Yeah, just win.
Win-win. There's a song about that somewhere. All right, let's take a look at the Atlanta Reign schedule. So they got through the hard part, the Shock and the Titans, and they played them both pretty closely. Now, they can breathe a little bit. They have the Dragons next. I think that's going to still be a tough matchup personally. Then they got the Dynasty Fusion, Defiant Mayhem. How you guys feeling about the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you said it right there. Shock and the Titans was definitely the scary part for them. And I think the fact that they managed to make it look closer should give them some wind underneath their wings to actually roll through the rest of it. I do think that the Dragons as well as the Dynasty, that's going to be probably more of a, how do you say that? Maybe a hurdle, a little bit of a hurdle.
Yeah, don't look at me
the rest of
language,
it,
Zoe.
yeah, I was like really trying to, okay, any of the natives, please help me out here, but none of them did. So yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, I do think it's just the next 2, which could go either way, but the rest they should technically have in the bag if they can play the same way.
I mean, that's still, even if they lose to Shock, sorry, not Shock. If they lose to Shanghai and then Seoul as well, that's a 3 and 4 stage. Even if they perform really well,
right?
Yeah,
so
but
even
you
if
can,
they play
you
those
can
two
lose
really
4
close.
and still make it into the playoffs. Technically,
Only if everybody else has really crazy stages.
Sometimes you're just lucky.
Yeah.
Josh.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is they need everyone they can get to make it into the overall playoffs. Of course, they're ending this stage playing against the Defiant and the Mayhem at home in Atlanta in our next homestand, which is going to be awesome. But I want to talk a little bit more about that because the Atlanta Reign, they're gaining a lot of respect very fast. A lot of people are hopping on the bandwagon after seeing them perform so well against these top teams. So, Zoe, do you think that they're going to be able to keep up this momentum? Are you taking the Atlanta Reign serious now?
I mean, I personally have always taken them serious. I've been the defender,
You have,
the supporter, the super fan of this desk.
Top 8 series.
It's just the third day, Malik. I don't know yet. But I mean, everything's possible in the world of Overwatch.
You're right about that. Yeah. All right. What about you guys? Want to weigh in on that?
I just love how that answer suits everything. You know,
Suits everything.
I covered every base.
Anything can happen in the world of Overwatch, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, guys.
Covered.
Coming up next, we're going to find out if the Spark were able to maintain their playoff momentum. That's coming up next on the Watchpoint Post Show.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
The Hangzhou Spark and the Philadelphia Fusion both made their Stage 3 debuts today, and the Spark, coming off a Stage 2 playoff run, were looking to take out the 2018 runner-ups. So how did they fare today? Pretty well. The Spark looked very good today.
It really did. I mean, here's the thing with the Spark as well now. Where do you want to place them on the rankings internally in your minds? Because for me, they're going up steadily, place by place, bit by bit, with every match they play.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the match we saw today, was this the Spark winning on the Fusion just losing? Like, I honestly, Fusion did not look like they tried especially hard to me.
Why not both?
Well, okay, we can make it both, yeah, but like, it's really hard to give someone like a lot of praise when the other team just kind of takes it.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia crumbled, but I've got to agree with Brent that we have to stop thinking about where the Spark rank. I think they are trying to make their way into the top 5. It's very difficult to decide where Shanghai, London, maybe even Seoul and Spark kind of sit at the top of these rankings. Oh, with the Gladiators as well. There are still so many question marks about where these teams fall. And the stage playoffs don't really tend to answer them because they tend to go out in the quarterfinals, these kind of teams, to the big 3.
I bet you were biting your tongue then when you said I have to agree with Brent. I could sense it through your
the
mouth.
pain was right there.
It pains me whenever you're correct.
But what I loved to see from the Spark was the cohesion they're now having with Gushue. I know that at the very beginning when they started to fielding him over a nose smite, it looked a little bit rough at the very beginning, but now they gel so well. They really work around him so very well. They have very good coordinated aggressive pushes with him, and there was a lot of support for Gushue to actually going a little bit more aggressive with that Reinhardt, and it's been working great for them.
Yeah, the one thing I like the most about Gushue is how he plays. He's got the potential to just play like an absolute maniac, but he plays within the means of his team. He doesn't try and overstep his boundaries like players like Fischer do, for example, and then they end up just causing defeat of their own teams. I really like how he's just holding back, you know, his own power, because he knows that if he just flexes a little bit, suddenly everyone's just going to be blasted out of the server, you know? Yeah, Gushue he's a phenomenal talent. What can I say?
Yo, I really want to take a second to point out Gushue and Sato's Reinhardt stats. If you look at the Earth Shatter stuns, there's a huge discrepancy between what Gushue was able to produce and Sato. I mean, Gushue just outplayed him on Reinhardt through and through.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. We have this discussion a lot, you know, where we're looking at Sato and how he performs on Reinhardt. By the way, shout out to our stats, because now we have percentage of time discorded, which is going to be an incredible statistic to dive into. If there's anybody out there that loves the numbers, we're going to be doing deep dives on that in the future. But we always have this discussion with the Philadelphia Fusion. Where is your giant Viking man, and what have you done with him?
Where's Fraggy?
Where is Fraggy? And it was my opinion for the longest time that Sato would be able to compete. His Winston looked very capable. They were having good success with it when they were playing it on stuff like Rialto, Volskaya earlier on in the season. Now it seems like they've lost that identity. They're not even having success with that composition, and they look like they need a bit of a retool. I don't know whether Fraggy would be the answer, but you got to ask the question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I trust Fraggy's Reinhardt more than I would trust Sato's Reinhardt. However, Fraggy has also not been playing for an actual eternity. I don't even know how he looks like anymore.
I saw him today.
Memory at this point.
Yeah, he got a little trim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, maybe I've seen him too. I just didn't realize it because, again, it's faded.
Hair trim, beard trim.
I didn't see his beard. I saw him walking away. I just saw the back of him. I didn't see the front. I saw.
Was it wishful thinking?
Was it really him?
He's in the building. He's here.
Yeah.
He's here. They can just throw him in.
In the current meta, I feel like replacing one singular player is not the answer to your problems. GOATS is way more than that. It's teamwork. It's the cohesion. It's working well with your micro abilities. It comes down to a lot more than that. I don't think that's the one and whole answer. As much as the Fusion fans might be screaming for it, I don't think that's the case. Instead, we're going to go back to the point that Monte Cristo loves to talk about, and that's these teams that can't play the GOATs. They need to be moving more towards the DPS comps, the cheese comps, you know?
Yeah.
A bit more somber, maybe.
Yeah, and it's not like Fusion doesn't have the talent to do so.
Well,
that's what confuses me.
Yeah, but I think the Philadelphia Fusion have shown potential with this composition. That they look like they kind of could. Yeah, at times Philadelphia Fusion have looked like they might be able to compete with some of the at least decent teams, you know, like Seoul, like your Gladiators, stuff like that. At times they've shown that they could be on that level. And all they need to do, Brent, going back to your point, is sneak into the playoffs and hope for a change. They're not going to win the season.
They've done it before, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's literally what they did last season. They snuck in at 6th place, 5th place, something like that, and just ran the table at the end. So I think they just got to pray, I think was the word that you used earlier on.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, I posted out a tweet, shout out to my social media, Brencast. Follow me whenever.
Of course.
So that's what it takes.
The plug.
Prayer.
Posted a tweet earlier saying this exact same thing. I said that this is something that teams are going to be hoping for. If you're not good at GOATs now, just start going in on cheese comps, try and get any win you can, and just sneak into that 12th position, and then just try and make a run for it.
They're having a rough time. I don't think GOATs and prayers are going to help them much here. I'm sorry. I don't think that gets them in
But
there.
I kind of can feel what Brent is saying. Taking advantage of those obscure maps like Oasis and playing something different than GOATs maybe would be beneficial for some of these teams, you know? But guys, let's keep it moving because we got to talk about the Dynasty and the Charge. Now, one of the biggest mysteries in the Overwatch League right now is what lineup is the Dynasty going to run day by day? They have so many players, so much talent. And it's like they're choosing Pokemon and throwing them out the battle pretty much at this point. Now, against the Guangzhou Charge, we got a fresh new lineup today, and the result, sheer dominance.
Yeah, I like this lineup. I think they're consistent in a lot of their play. I like the Marvel's. I think Marvel's play style when it comes to playing main tank fits what they need when you're playing as triple tank, triple support. Can't be too overly aggressive, especially if you don't have the coordination to back up your main tank in that regard. So I like what Soul's doing. They can flex as well with it. I mean, it's a beautiful little piece of work.
But do you actually like what Soul are doing? Or when they lose, when they play against a genuinely good team, are we all going to suddenly say, maybe you should have stuck with a 6-man lineup? Because they haven't played against a top team yet.
Yeah.
And previously, in the previous stage, they choked against Spark and failed to make the stage playoffs. So I'm still not seeing this like excellence in performance from one lineup from Soul. It's kind of cool that they have two that they can work with. And it's
I mean, whatever gets you the win, right?
Yeah, but any of these lineups, I think, could get them the win against Mayhem or Charge because they're a better team in whole. Like, their system is better, their players are better.
Maybe they're giving their players more time on the stage, too.
I completely agree with Josh, though, about solidifying your lineup and getting 6 down. Throughout the history of Overwatch, what we've seen so far in the Overwatch League, because substitutions weren't really a thing before the Overwatch League when it comes to Overwatch being played. And what we've seen is that the teams, straight out the gates in the 2018 inaugural season, they ran with these massive lineups, but eventually what became the most effective way to build them was just trimming them down to maybe a core of 7, and you'd flex one player in and out. And in this meta, especially so, I feel like you just need 6 core members that you can work with. So I do think that this is going to bite them in the long run if they just keep playing this game of musical chairs.
I mean, we don't know. We've really only seen, what, 2 teams going for those double lineups. And that, granted, it didn't work out. But, you know, let's give them one more chance. I want to see where it goes with it.
They're not doing a bad job. They're actually doing a really good job of being able to have multiple lineups and still have them perform because they're still like at least middle of the pack. To be able to easily beat Charge and Mayhem, you have to sit somewhere at least in middle of the pack. We don't quite know how competitive these rosters would be. Right. But if you're Soul and you have that much talent on your roster, you should be striving for excellence. So unless this is an experimentation period where they nail down a 6 in the future, I think they're going to wish that they put in a bit more effort.
So you feel like it's more of a both these rosters are now competing with each other for the starting lineups.
Or maybe they'll blend them together at a future date based on like, oh, I really like the tank line from this roster, but I like the back line from the other, or some kind of portion.
You don't blend Fisher together in anything. Fisher blends you.
Fisher, will it blend?
It's funny you're saying that we don't know what they're going to do. I wonder if they know exactly what the lineup it is that they want. What's optimal for them?
I never doubt the coaching staff of the Soul Dynasty. Giant brains. Giant brains.
I feel you, man. All right, guys. Well, coming up next, we have Custer of the LA Valiant joining us here at the desk for a few questions. Don't go anywhere. More Watchpoint Post Show coming up.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Watchpoint Post Show, ladies and gentlemen. Malik here. And guys, you know what we do. We have nothing but illustrious guests here at the desk. And today we are joined by LA Valiant main support, Custer, in the building. What's up, Custer? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. First 4 of the season, so I can't complain at all.
Yeah. 4-0, man. Must feel nice.
Yeah.
Let me reach across and give you some dap, man. You know, I appreciate good stuff, good work.
It all happened
I'm gonna take some time now and call out the desk. I'm gonna call out all these guys up here.
do it.
Yeah,
because guess what? None of them picked you to win. They all picked Chengdu.
But
I'm
we
going to be honest
believed
as
on
well.
you.
It's even worse because when we were in the pre-show today, we were predicting the matches were most likely to be an upset, and none of us picked your match as well.
Not even an upset.
You didn't even believe in us in the long shots.
No.
Did you believe in your team?
Yeah, 100%. We were pretty confident that we were going to win.
Why? Why were you pretty confident?
So, like, I know our match against Shanghai didn't show much. They played a lot of Sombra Goats, and we obviously didn't react to that very well at all.
Yeah.
But if we're allowed to play the Goats matchup, we're really confident in our ability to play the game. And honestly, on Thursday, our first match, our communication sort of fell down. We're going with a new system, a lot of nerves coming in the first match of a new stage with kind of a new roster. So everything just sort of fell apart. But, you know, it was good to bring it back today.
Yeah, I feel it. Custer, you guys had a rough start to the year, but you've been bouncing back as of late. So how important was for you guys to close out this week with a W?
Yeah, it's really important to us. You know, our run at the playoffs is a really long and hard one.
Yeah.
And these are the games that you need to win. Obviously, Shanghai is a very good team. They're playing an amazing Sombra Goats, so losing that team wasn't as bad. But these are the games that we need to win. You know, we come up against Shanghai again in 2 weeks, so we need to come back and get some redemption.
Okay. You think you guys got enough intel from that first game to make a good run back with them?
They're playing Sombra Goats, yeah. We're going to work out how to beat that.
Wild card, Sombra.
Yeah.
Now, we all saw the new additions already on stage. How are they mashing behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's been great, honestly. Fact Fiction is the one that you saw on stage today. He's been doing a really good job. New caller, he is like really passionate. It was his first win on stage, you know, even though he was in the season last time on Houston Outlaws. So it was really good to get a win with him. He's a great caller, great teammate, so it's been really amazing. Then we have Shaxon McGravy, who's been helping out behind the scenes.
So is there a cultural change also? Like, can you feel it behind the scenes that there have been changes made to the roster?
Yeah, you definitely notice it a little bit. You know, obviously we have a lot more Western players, so I think the Western culture is sort of like there a little bit more. But you know, it's still the same thing. Everyone's just trying to have a good time. Everyone's just trying to win some games. At the end of the day, regardless of the culture or anything like that, everyone just wants to win. So it's good to finally start getting some consistent wins, and hopefully we can get more.
Can you tell me a bit about the role of Shaxon McGravy, who, I mean, McGravy's been traded from the Mayhem. Shax has come up from Mayhem Academy. At the moment, we've only seen Fact Fiction on stage. Are there plans to be able to run the other guys? Are they just developmental players for the future? What's the idea there?
McGravy's a tough one because we have space. Obviously, I would rate one of the best divas in the world. I think McGravy behind him is always useful. You never know what's going to happen, you know, especially with some of these DPS coming in from the diva roles, so maybe he could fill that. With Shax, incredibly talented DPS player, has a really deep hero pool. Whether or not we'll see him while Goats Meta is a thing, it's really important to have him in the future.
So how much practice time do they get? Like, how do you make sure that they're not like getting rusty on the bench?
I know that we've definitely been giving them some scrim blocks here and there, just sort of keeping them fresh, giving them things to work on as well. With Shax and Kyle on who to choose, we actually gave them both a fair equal chance, and the coaches decided to go with Kyle for now. So everyone's just trying to work their hardest on and off the stage.
I got a pretty easy question for you.
Oh, no.
No, it is, I swear. What do you miss the most about Australia then?
Bakeries.
Bakeries?
Yes!
Oh, here we go.
Right, now we've found somewhere to gel.
There we go.
Bread
American
here is
bread.
appalling.
It's the
Actually
worst.
atrocious.
When have you ever got a good pastry,
Any pastry
in the US?
is really
Never.
not. Okay.
Never is
Sorry,
literally
Malik, you're alone.
I did not think we were going to get this answer.
I
love this.
You guys go ahead. You know,
Nothing is better than a sausage roll and a pie, and you know, an iced coffee in the lunch.
my language.
Here we go.
We know each other. We know each
Okay.
other. English colonies are
This
sort
is
of really
literally
coming
it.
together right now.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, great answer.
Yeah.
Any other delicacies?
Does that mean you're going to predict for us next game, or?
Potentially, yeah.
Depends
maybe.
whether
you
My
have
predictions are really
carbohydrates
based
for
off
the
of
day.
nothing anyway, so, you know, might throw one your way. I don't know, if you're lucky.
You guys done trashing our bread yet? Let's
Yeah,
go. I
I'll
only
think
mess
about
with gluten-free anyway, so you guys are good. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. All right, Custer, I'm going to say it. You're the most notable player to come out of Australia, but you're not alone here in the Overwatch League. Everyone's favorite Australian caster, Uber, is known for his Uberisms. So we were hoping you could provide some clarity for us and to let us know if what he's actually saying is like Australian sayings or if they're just gibberish. You down for that?
I can probably answer that now, but yeah, sure, we can go.
All right, we got a few clips. You ready? Let's do it.
Yeah.
What a turnaround! Dallas just snapped back like a sapling in the breeze, and that's 3 kills for them early in the fight.
Was that a sapling in a breeze?
Yeah. Snap back like a sapling in the breeze.
Snap back like a sapling in the breeze.
Isn't a snapback a hat?
I thought so.
I don't think he's talking about hats, though.
No.
That's not Australian. That's an Uberism. That's not us.
It makes
That's
sense.
an Uberism. All right.
Sapling, it's like a little tree.
A little tree.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So that one doesn't check out.
That one's
All
off
right.
the
Let's
list.
go to the next one.
Sound barrier when they get grabbed, and I don't know if it's going to cut the mustard here. The Gladiators have everything they really need to finish things.
Cutting the mustard. Are we talking about cutting the
Cut
mustard?
the mustard. Yes.
I don't even think mustard's that big in Australia. I feel like he's just throwing us under the bus right now, making us look like idiots.
Slice the Vegemite. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
if he said cutting the Vegemite, I'd be all in.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
Cutting the mustard? What
But
is
have you never heard of cut the mustard? Is cut the mustard not a US saying?
I've never heard
I've
that.
never heard that.
Okay, I mean,
Is
that's
that an
a
English
British
thing
saying.
then?
It is a British saying.
Maybe Uber is actually British. Maybe all this time.
tough is your
I've been
mustard?
lied to. I'm going to look for his passport
How
next time
thick
I
is
see
your
him.
mustard?
Very thick. It's incredibly gelatinous mustard.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a locational thing. I don't mess with mustard or mayonnaise or any of that stuff.
I honestly,
so
I
I've never
don't think
heard
I've ever
that.
had mustard in my life.
Yeah,
never
never
had
heard
mustard?
that.
I
Really nice.
almost said
It's very
you
nice.
did.
You don't cut it very often, don't worry.
All right.
You're not cutting it, but...
All right, so that one doesn't check out either. Let's move on to the next one.
That fight looked like pouring marinara sauce down a luge. A lot of sauce.
What is that?
Pouring marinara sauce down a luge.
Yeah.
What? I don't think there's any country that comes to. No one is taking that. I don't know. That's
You
not.
have any
that's
idea what
another
he
Uberism.
tried to say with it? Like,
I'm starting to think he doesn't say anything Australian at this point.
There's no way that one checks out. Oh, okay. Let's keep it moving. To the next clip.
And for those that are tuning in, stick around. That match is coming up next, and it's bound to be a rip snorter. We'll see you soon.
What do you guys think we talk about in Australia? You think we're cutting the mustard and hitting some rip snorters or whatever that means?
Have you never heard of rip snorter?
I've never heard of rip snorter either. What are we talking about?
I don't know. I've
I
never
think you
heard
have
the
to
word.
have a word
Genuinely,
with him.
though.
He's representing your
I
whole
feel like
country
we need
on the
Uber
mic.
here so he can explain himself.
Genuinely, though, they picked these clips out. The producers did not know if this was Australian sayings or not.
Yeah.
We were
No,
just.
The producer just told us that one is Australian.
That's Australian.
Apparently, that's Australian.
According to who? Because Uber is not a good source, I'm starting to
I
realize.
don't know. Our very much not Australian producer.
Yeah.
I also don't think it's a very good source, but you know.
I mean, apparently that one checks out. We're going to put an asterisk by that and move on to the next clip.
Chaz, not really worrying about wasting the bullets, probably using about as many as the Australians did in the Great Emu War, and it's going to be enough. Birdering is down.
Mitch, we talked about this. We don't bring up the Great Emu War, especially not on broadcast. Okay, that's a dark time in our history.
Do you know what year it was?
It's late 1800s, I think.
1876.
How do you know the answer?
I've done a lot of research.
You've done a lot of
into it.
research on the
Yeah.
Great Emu War.
Yeah.
I saw as well a recent Custer News Network show, which I'll highly recommend to anybody else who's interested, that you can't name bird species.
Okay, you know, if
Whoa, Custer
Alright,
was asked to
name your favorite bird right now.
an orc.
An orc. What is an orc?
You play
That's a
D&D?
mythical creature.
What do you mean at all?
AUK, an orc, a great orc.
Oh, what?
Type of bird.
The other
You
Englishman
wouldn't
disagrees
know.
with you.
You wouldn't know. Listen, what did you say for your favorite type of bird?
Oh, okay, that's not important. We're sticking with you right now.
He said a normal bird.
There
A normal bird.
There are plenty
that
of normal
well-known
birds in
species. Normal bird.
What's a not normal
those-
bird
How many
then?
people have a favorite bird? Do you have a favorite bird?
Yeah.
What is it?
A hummingbird.
Okay, well,
Mine's chicken.
What's
what's a chicken?
I think that
I'm not
buzzer means
surprised on
like,
that
let's
one,
stop this conversation and keep it moving. All right. So, Custer, since you're with us, you mind joining us in a little bit of Over the Top? We're going to look at some of the best moments of the day. You cool? You cool?
Yeah, I'm-
All right, let's go ahead and get into our top moments of the day with Over the Top. Starting off with IDK setting up a huge earth shatter. Pretty nice.
I really like how this meta is great for Lucios. It allows them to shine. Players like Kookie and Custer can really get their day.
Yeah, you know, a lot of great people and talented players have come out of this. So honestly, IDK's nuts though. So it's great to look at players like him. Like, look at that move.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Beautiful. When are we going to start seeing some plays coming out from you then?
Oh, yeah, they're coming. I got a couple.
Wow.
Hey.
Putting them on a hot seat. All right, next up, Twilight playing Wrecking Ball and just hanging and failing and falling.
Probably the worst feeling ever.
That looks like Bren's gameplay to be
Yeah,
honest.
that is very similar to me.
reminiscent.
But it's actually tragic when you're in this position because it's so hard to get. Like, that's actually slick. He used the power drive to get
Bren
back
would
up.
never have made it back up.
Next up, your teammate, Fact Fiction with the Fatty Shaddy and the 2K charge. Love
Yeah.
it.
That was a
Love
big
it.
play. That was a big play. He
How'd
played
you feel
really
when you
well.
saw this? How'd you feel? Were you like, yes, that's
Yeah,
my
well, this
teammate right there.
coming into the match, you know, obviously we're trying to like get momentum early, and we had amazing first gardens round here. Obviously, Fat Shadow right there.
Lovely. Next up, we got Popo doing his thing with a nice little 4K, or 5K actually. He went in.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Real
I love
beautiful use of
Popo.
like getting around that defensive self-destruct as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would have prevented most of the follow-up. But beautiful shield.
Despite your loss, I think Poco and Dako both had actually really good game.
Last but not least, Twilight kind of redeeming himself from that awful Wrecking Ball play we saw earlier and getting lots of frags.
That's a lot of headshots.
Yeah. You don't see that in Citra's ranked games. I'll tell you that for free.
You do, it's just the other's end. He's slapping me around on the regular.
All right, let's take a time to look at our Twitch cheer leaderboard. Custer, what do you see there?
I see a lot of bits. Atlanta's at the Atlanta
You've
at the
got
top
a future on
surprises
the
me.
analyst desk.
Where are we? Where are we?
Yeah, y'all better
Come
start
on,
donating.
Hey, what are we doing?
Where
Come on,
was
chat. What are we doing?
You're on the same kind of position you are in the overall leaderboard.
Oh, wow.
Are we 17th?
Wow,
That's an
Sideshow.
interesting
That was
question.
cheap.
We're actually not on the list actually.
And here goes our individual leaderboard. Oh, man. There's some names missing.
Yeah, we got a lot of
That's
new
a
ones. Look
lot.
at 55 marshmallows. That's a lot of marshmallows.
Do you know
Yeah.
my favorite? Number 2. It's a very shocked Shelby. It's like a very surprised, maybe even
Surprise Shelby. We'll call it that.
Shelby.
seen something he doesn't want to see.
All right, guys. Speaking of Twitch, be sure to go get your Overwatch League All Access Pass on Twitch because coming up right after Watchpoint, you won't want to miss the live Q&A with Eileen from the Guangzhou charts exclusively with that All Access Pass on Twitch. Yo, Custer, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. And guys, we're going to be back right after the break. Don't go anywhere. More Watchpoint Post Show coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
Welcome back to the Watchpoint Post Show. Here's a look at what's in store for tomorrow. Everything kicks off with our match of the week as the NYXL face off against the London Spitfire. That's when it's going to be spicy. Paris then goes up against Boston. The Justice take on the Fuel. And the Titans and the Gladiators battle it out to finish things off. Zoe, with all that going on tomorrow, what are you most excited about?
Well, it's got to be the first game of the day. New York Excelsior facing off against the London Spitfire. Always an interesting to watch, always an exciting game. And I'm really interested to see if New York is going to keep on playing a little bit out of the ordinary, at least for them implementing that Sombra. I wasn't really sold on it. I don't necessarily think Sabiobi did fantastic. However, it did work. I'm not sure it will work against the London Spitfire, but we're going to see.
It's good to see Staple be back out there, though.
Yeah, it's just great to see him.
Hopefully he gets better. We'll see.
Let's hope he gets better.
I'm going to agree with you, Zoe. I think match number 1, our match of the week, is going to be the one to look out for. I think New York versus London, but in particular, it's all about London now and whether or not they're going to be able to stay and hang with the top boys, you know? If they can bring a close game to New York Excelsior, who knows? Maybe they are going to be an elite team and considered an elite team. If they win, I mean, I feel like we have to kind of put them in that list. I mean, suddenly it expands up from 3 top teams to now 4, if that's the case. I mean, London are a team as well that they can be inconsistent, but they can also peak very highly. So who knows?
Very true. I think even though the match of the week will be spectacular, don't get me wrong, I've got my eyes on the Vancouver Titans playing against the Gladiators, particularly because the Gladiators are a very creative team. So I want to see what kind of special tailored strategies they have to be able to take down the Vancouver Titans. Nobody has managed to do it yet in a regular season match, and the Gladiators will certainly be preparing to see if they can do it there and be kind of trendsetters moving forwards.
I like it. I like it. You guys make such good points. It makes me super excited for tomorrow. But guys, tomorrow is coming up soon. So that's going to do it with us for today. We'll see you at 11:30 Pacific. But until then, everybody, have a good evening and goodbye.
And that's a tough matchup.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League, guys. That's right, Dylan Monty back with you for another